Hello everybody, welcome back to Future Fiber. This is your host Jenny, and this is a channel where we talk about all the crafty things that I do. It's mostly knitting. Today we have another video updating you guys on all the things that I've been working on. This is actually my second time filming this podcast episode because the first time I started filming as the sun was going down. I also noticed that I was wearing the same shirt that I've worn for the past like 4 videos. It bothered me, therefore I am redoing this. But also I was just like really rambly in that video, more rambly than usual. So hopefully this one goes a little better and I don't ramble as much. Today I am wearing my self-drafted Miu Miu copycat cardigan. This is knit up with Hobie Friends wool, and the white part is Drops Lima, I believe. I think I finished knitting this earlier this year. I got some wear out of it before it turned to be summer, but I am glad that it's finally cold enough where I can wear this again without overheating and dying. I do kind of think that making this with 100% wool was kind of a mistake. As you see, it's got these like eyelet holes. That combined with the 100% wool makes it not the most versatile because you're getting the wind through these holes, but the material itself is kind of warm. So I mean, take that what you will. I think that is my dilemma with a lot of my projects, unfortunately. So you live and learn. We're gonna do the order of this a little bit backwards today. I usually start with finished objects, work in progress, and acquisitions. We're gonna start with acquisitions today. Mix it up. We will start with the most interesting thing to look at, which is Memory Lane. This is a pattern compilation book by Claudia Quintanilla from Units Toronto, and they kindly sent me this book as well as a, let me see if I can hold this up without making crinkly sounds, as well as a knitting kit for one of the patterns that were included in the book. I am knitting the Aureliano, which is, I will show you in the book, this guy. To be transparent, they sent this to me to review and talk about, but all the opinions are my own, so you can use this information to decide if you want to purchase this or not. So there's 15 patterns included in this book, and all of them are themed around kind of like embellished knits. The cover has this design which has these little beadings, so it uses like extra notion materials like lace or embroidery thread or beading or ribbons and things like that. So coincidentally, the pattern that I chose to knit is the one that does not have any of those things, but it is a all over colorwork pattern. It's knit up in 2 strands of mohair throughout the entire garment, which is ironic given my past aversion to mohair and colorwork, and now I am working with both of those things in the same design. But I think, you know, it's going to be a challenging but rewarding project because, like, I mean, just look at my thing with circular yoke designs is that I don't really love when the yoke doesn't have any shaping in the neck for the back, so that because I feel like a lot of the times it kind of comes up too close to your neck and kind of chokes you as you wear it. But the Aureliano, I was pleased to find that it does have short row shaping for the back. So if that's something that you also consider to be important as a design element, I would also, there's that piece of information for you. I think overall the patterns, despite the sample knits having a lot of embellishments and decorative elements, I think the shape of a lot of the garments could be very versatile. Like, for example, there is a t-shirt pattern, the Golondrina, this one, Golondrina maybe, and this is kind of like a basic t-shirt pattern. At the core of it, it's a basic t-shirt pattern, but it has these embellishments around the neckline as well as the edges of the sleeves that could be switched or modified to have a more simple look. but I think the overall construction and the fit of it could be used to fit your needs. So I like that part about the book. Like, you don't need to do all the embellishments. That's what makes the individual pieces in the pattern book interesting. But if you are a basic girl like me, I think there's a lot of options for what you can do with. One thing that I thought was interesting was the fiber choice in a lot of these designs. Most of them feature some sort of like fuzzy halo-y yarn. So like in this Aureliano's example, mohair Ito Sensai. And that gives these designs this kind of very ethereal, otherworldly look and very delicate look. And the choice in fibers gives it a lot of drape overall. I also found that these garments they all seem to be kind of knit on a looser gauge, which gives everything kind of this like flowy, floaty look. For my purposes, I would probably swap out the yarn choice for a lot of these designs. Like, for example, there's this design here, Olympia. This, from the front, it looks very simple. It's just a stockinette raglan design. But then what makes this different is that in the back of the neck, there's a ribbon piece that you add around. I guess you snake it through the folded over neckband. And for something like this, I think I would prefer to have it in maybe just a simple wool, or maybe even like something dry or feeling, so like a cotton or some sort of like cotton blend, and then wear it through like all the seasons. And then the neck ribbon detail is like something that could be with like a cotton ribbon or like maybe like webbing almost, so you can give it like a different feel to it. I think that's just how I would modify some of these things to fit my aesthetic, I suppose. There's also another colorwork sweater that I think would be really fun to try or give a go, and it's the Azul. It has these, oh, the sun. It has these like X marks combination with the stripes that gives it this very, I don't know how to describe it. It's simple but visually interesting, and I think the repetition of the pattern would probably make it easy for me to pick up and remember, because I have a hard time with like charts and patterns if they're like too complex. So I think something like this would be really easy for me to remember, because you have the repetition of the X shape, but then like the difference is just in the color, the background color of the sweater. And I also like this, the raglan stitch that runs down the front and the back of the sweater is done up in a different color, so you get a little bit of extra visual differentiator there. I'm really excited to knit some of these up. Well, other than the Aureliano that I started already, which I'll show you. I got the same colorway in the kit as is in the sample photos. I didn't choose like other colors to knit with, because I just don't think I have that kind of brain right now. I think I need to like do the color work before I can really feel confident in choosing my own colors. That's why I just went with whatever whatever the sample was knit up with. But I really like this blue color, bluish green, and I think it would be really nice to have a sweater that is in this kind of colorway. Yeah, if you're interested, you could see sample photos of all the designs that are included in this book on the Lite publishing website, as well as Unit Toronto website. I'll put the link in the description so you can get your own copy of this book. So thank you again to Unit and Claudia for sending me this book, and I am excited to finish up my version of the Aureliano. This is a good point to kind of segue into the yarn that was included in the kit for the Aureliano. I want to just talk about the Ito Sensai. This is my first time working with Ito Sensai, and I've seen it in a bunch of shops before, but I never really felt compelled to buy this particular mohair because, one, I don't really have a strong... I think I've grown to not like working with mohair as much, given that I've just found it very uncomfortable to wear a lot of times. I worked with a lot of like cheaper mohairs because I don't want to drop like $1 million on a sweater. So I always end up going for like drops, kid silk, or I think on the splurgy-er. And I've worked with Knitting for Olive mohair. Knitting for Olive mohair is softer, but something about it I still found very prickly to me. It might have been the color that I chose as well. I worked with the Dusty Artichoke color a couple years back, and I found that that one wasn't very soft. But some other colors of the same yarn I found to be softer and less scratchy. And kid silk too, like certain colors. I found the navy that I had used once to be particularly scratchy, but the yellow that I had was less so. So I think it depends a little bit on the treatment that the yarn receives during the dyeing process as well. But Ito Sensai. So when I just touch it in this like ball form, it's soft, right? But it's not like so soft. Like I've definitely felt some yarns that I was like, oh my god, that's like cashmere, for example, feels like super soft and luxurious on you, but like I didn't really find this to be super soft. So that's another reason why I never got it, because like to touch, like it didn't feel, I don't know, it felt like the same as any other mohair. Like I didn't really see how I could justify the cost of this. But now that I've kind of worked with it a little bit here, I feel like on the skin, this is softer. I don't know how to describe it, but it just really does feel like air. Now, I am, once again, I'm not the greatest, I don't have as much experience with mohair, different types of mohair brands as some other people. So I would be curious on hearing your opinion on your working experience with any of these. But I find that this brand of mohair, Ito Sensai, is a little bit easier to work with for me, and it doesn't feel as prickly against my... I'm sure like once I finish the whole thing and then put it on and, you know, experience it in full, it might feel different, but so far I feel like this, as far as touch goes, this is like on the top. Once again, the sample size is kind of small, but maybe the price is justified for this little ball. Okay. And I have a tool as well for my acquisitions this video. And I got this I-cord. I think they call it an I-cord master. But this is an I-cord making tool. And I saw a Instagram reel of somebody doing an applied I-cord edge to a shawl that they were knitting with this. And I got this online from, I think, Miss Babs Dyed Yarns. I think you can get it elsewhere too. I got this because I've seen the, I think it's the Tulip brand I-cord maker where you crank it like a circular knitting machine. And I have thought about buying that in the past because I just really don't like doing I-cords. But I love the way that it looks on a lot of garments. So I was like, maybe I should get that I-cord maker, but then the downside to that Tulip I-cord maker is that it just makes the cord. It doesn't let you do that using like an applied edge to an existing garment. So when I saw this and that reel, I was just like, oh my god, I need to have that. And I was also doubly influenced because at the time I was working on a project, which we'll see later, that has an I-cord, applied I-cord edge to all of the edges basically. And I was just like so sick of knitting I-cords. So I got this. I think I missed the train, the hype train of when this was like first developed or invented or whatever, because I think it was like last year or something, but then I just saw the reel like this year. So the algorithm has, you know, let me down once again. But Norman from Nimble Needles also has a video of him making his own version of this I-cord maker, and he basically uses 3 latch hooks, which is what this is, and then uses polymer clay to make the base. But this base is 3D printed, so I'm sure if you're handy with 3D printed, if you're handy with 3D printers, you could make this yourself as well with 3 latch hooks. But I just decided to pay for it because your girl doesn't have time to 3D print anything. Yeah, My experience with this so far, it does take some time getting used to, but it does work. I would say for me, what worked the best was getting it started. I would just do it with like the regular needles, but then once I had like 3 or so rows and the I-cord already done, I would transfer the stitches onto this and then go. As far as like, is it faster? I'm not sure yet because I haven't had enough experience with this. It is a little bit slow going in the beginning because you have to like be very careful and mindful about making sure that all the stitches catch. But it's like a gimmick, but it works, you know? So I am not too mad about the money that I spent, which was $25 plus shipping. If you don't mind doing I-cords and you don't mind doing I-cords with a double pointed needle or something, you don't need this. But it was just like, I bought it because I was sick in the moment of doing I-cord. Okay. This is a sample that I knit up with this. And I think it looks like, I mean, obviously it works, but I think I'll have a lot of use for it when I have to do like I-cords to tie, like to make ties or drawstring, or I don't know how much I will use this actually for an applied I-cord. One thing about this is that once you miss one of these stitches, if it doesn't catch all the way, then it is a little bit difficult to kind of like tink backwards and work. But overall, it's like a fun gadget, so I don't regret the purchase necessarily, and I bought it so that, you know, you could also decide if you want it or not. But yeah. So those are like the acquisitions. I mean, there's like other acquisitions, but I've already used them in projects, so I'll just talk about the projects. The Aureliano, I'm not going to talk about it because I haven't gotten far enough to really have an opinion on the pattern yet, other than the back neck shaping, which is good and exciting for me. Something that came back from hibernation. So this is the thin sweater by Wool & Beyond. I found this project. Ooh, look at all that dust. I found this project upstairs on my exercise bike because I had a phase where I was like, maybe since I'm sitting on my butt and knitting, maybe I will sit on my butt and then bike as I am knitting. And I did that for a day and I never did it again. So this is where that project was, on my exercise bike, and that's why I couldn't find it. So I worked on it a little bit, just like working on the body. I think the last time you saw this, I just had maybe joined on the round for the yoke, but now I'm just like slowly making progress on the body. It is my first fingering weight sweater top project, so it is taking a bit of time, but I'm really pleased with how it's turning out, and I will, you know, have it done for winter and it'll be all good to go. But I can't imagine having made the thin sweater and the thin skirt set at the same time, so I'm glad I did not buy the set because it just seems like a lot of work. This is kind of solidifying my opinion that maybe I don't want to knit too many fingering weight sweaters in the future. It just takes too long. It does look really, really nice though. And this yarn is yarn that I bought from Farm Kingston, I think last year. It's just like 100% wool from a local farm. So that's what we're working with. And I think it looks nice. I was kind of worried that like the gray specks that are in the yarn would make the shirt kind of look dingy, but I feel like I'm not really getting that. It does look marled, but it doesn't really give dingy. Let me know if you disagree on that, but that's the update on this new out of hibernation project that I discovered in my house. Work in progress is from here. You're going to be seeing a lot of pastels and pinks. I just had a thing this year where I was just really into pink. Okay, and I cast on the Wānaka sweater by Andie's Knits. Oh, you can't see the... But it's like a Henley neck like this. So this is supposed to have a button band that goes down the front. And it's going to be a long sleeve sweater. And I've gotten pretty far on the yoke part. And it's going to be oversized, as you can see, which I'm very excited about. I think I'm just having a moment where I also really like having sweaters that I could throw on and not really worry about the hardiness of the fiber or whatever. So I am using Hikoo Cobasi DK in the colorway Bubblegum. This is 100%, no, this isn't 100% cotton, but it's like a cotton blend yarn, and it's meant to be a summer yarn. And I've knit other projects with this yarn before. I've knit the Square Tee by Knit Rohi, and I really love this yarn. The stitches are really well defined and look really neat. And I really do not have good tension. Like, I don't know if that came across in my stuff before. I actually have an example of really how bad my tension is actually. This is a Petite knit zipper sweater that I knit like very early on when I first started knitting pretty much. And you can see this is a acrylic wool blended with, well, this is knit up with Wendy with wool in the colorway like Meadow, I think, which it gives it these like funfetti tweed specks. But anyways, it has a mohair held with it, so it kind of makes it more balanced and even. However, you can tell that up here, you can tell where it's rowing out on the purl side, and on the knit side, it's a lot tighter. And that's just like how I knit. Like, unfortunately, I can mitigate it if I use two different size needles, right? I use a smaller needle for the purl side, and then for the knit side, I use a larger needle. But a lot of the times, I'm just like lazy, and I don't care that much, honestly. Like, that one is like particularly egregious, but if I'm knitting with like 100% wool or some sort of like stretchier fibers, it usually like kind of sorts itself out after a block. It's just that that one has like, I feel like acrylic yarn is very unforgiving with tension, which you will see examples of as well later in this episode. It's just that was a long-winded way of saying that I like how this looks. Yeah. The Wānaka sweater pattern, so far I have no problems with. I think it's 10/10, really easy to follow, and creates a nice little result so far. I haven't gotten that far, to be honest, but like I've gone through pretty much all the hard parts, right? Other than like maybe the button band, and I just think it looks so good. Like the fit, this is larger than I think is recommended by the pattern, because I thought I was going to knit a size 3, but then I went with a size 4 because I really wanted it to be like oversized, because I wanted to be able to wear it with like very large t-shirts underneath. So I went up a size or 2. So that's what a size 4 looks like. In particular, what I really like about the pattern is that the sections of the different parts of the sweater are really clearly marked. A lot of the times these written patterns can be kind of, you get lost in the sauce a little bit. You get lost in the words, but the heading for the different sections is really large and like clearly divided, so you can always like find your way back to where you were in the pattern pretty easily. So I really commend them for that graphic design part. And the instructions have been very clear. I get particularly confused with certain wordings, like if they don't say do this section and it's like do that for a total. I think I prefer it when they say like rows X to Y, repeat that section total for a total of like X numbers, rather than it saying section and then repeat 5 more times. Like then I have to do that additional math of like, okay, I already did like 1, then it's like I have to, I don't know. That's just like a personal preference for me in how patterns are written. I think the way that they wrote the instructions for the German short row sections were really easy to follow as well. Sometimes I feel like I am kind of guessing when they say like XYZ turn, and I'm like, okay, well, like, do I turn on the GSR or like do I turn like, you know what I mean? And, you know, it's not really like going to make or break the garment if you are off by like 1 or 2 stitches. So I usually just like do whatever I feel like is right. But this one I knew exactly that what I was doing was correct, if that makes sense. So that's the Wānaka sweater. I'm really excited to get this all finished up, and I think this will be really easy to wear all through the seasons, because this will be you know, a lighter fabric than like 100% wool. So I'll use this in like the summer nights too, maybe. I think that's the work in progress. I guess we'll talk about the finished objects. We have quite a bit this time. Okay, like 40 minutes into the video and I finally closed the curtain because I was sick of getting blinded. So here we are. And I guess we'll just talk about this guy first. The blanket, the crochet blanket that has been with me since the beginning of this podcast is finally finished. I cannot show you the full thing because it is a very big boy blanket. It's finished. And this is knit with Bernat blanket for the white parts and then some Mystery Michaels yarn for the teal parts. I think last time I just had like the final section left, and then the final section took me, I like dilly-dallied on finishing that final section for like 3 weeks, and then yesterday I just sat down and finished it and then put the tassels on and weaved in all the ends in like a couple hours last night. Sometimes it just really be like that. I guess I put off crochet projects because I don't particularly love doing it. It doesn't come that naturally to me. And I can't do it as I'm watching something because I have to look at crochet. Like I can't not look at crochet. Like knitting, I can just do it without looking. But crochet is difficult for me. I'm mostly glad that it's done rather than like if I'm really truly happy with the final result. Don't be like... Honestly, I like how it looks. Like, I think it looks cute. And I like how big it is. And I'm definitely going to use it and all that. But if I saw this at Home Goods or something, would I really buy this blanket? And I don't know if the answer is yes. Like, I think it's cute. I just don't know if I would have... If this was like a pre-made item, I would have paid money. Or like even the basic cost of yarn materials to buy this blanket if I saw it on the shelves, which is just kind of sad. But it turned out a lot cuter than I originally had thought it would. The tassels, I really debated on if I wanted to put tassels on it or not, but I ended up doing it because it just looked a little bare without this. But the tassels, I did not have enough yarn to do the tassels very fully. Like I originally wanted to do like rope tassels, but I would have needed more yarn to make this look fuller, so I just did regular tassels. And then, even then, I had to kind of mix it in with this white Bernat blanket yarn because I didn't have enough to do just the teal. So this is like just winging it every step of the way. And it looks very different from the original YouTube pattern that I started with, which was by Fast Kitty Crafts, the Sunrise Throw. It doesn't look like that. Doesn't look like that at all. Basically, just seed stitch portion is being repeated. The whole blanket is seed stitch or moss stitch, and I just did color changes. And you know, I think that makes it look neater, because like the color changes with the pattern changes together was not looking too hot. So I'm glad that I went with this option and ripped back and did all of this. So. Blanket, a lot of work, but surprisingly not that much to say about it, just because like it's not that exciting. I don't know, like will I ever knit another blanket again? Doubtful. Or will I make another blanket again? It's very doubtful. I don't understand how people make baby blankets for people really quickly. I don't know how they pump them out. Speaking of baby knits, I have done a bunch of baby knits these past couple of days because, well, let me start with this. Because this was one of the projects that I had discovered, salvaged from my digging up abandoned knits, abandoned work in progress knits pile thing video. And this is the baby bear bonnet by Knitting for Olive, and it's knit up with an acrylic yarn from Michaels that I got. I think it's Snuggly Wuggly was the name of the yarn. Just like 100% acrylic baby yarn. And I just finished this guy up. I had started doing the bear ear increases where I left off, and I just finished it so that I could send it over to my friend and her little toddler. No, baby. She's still a baby. She's not a toddler. just in time for the colder weather. I make this for like every baby I know, basically, because I just think it's so cute to have ears. When you're a toddler, when you're a child, like that's basically the only time that you could wear garments with ears like this without fear of being judged in public. So I think even if they don't remember it, they should take full advantage of that privilege. Yeah, this pattern, I think I mentioned it a couple times before, but yes, it's confusing, but the thing is so small that you can just sit down for a couple of hours and bang it out. So that's basically what I did. I started it for her baby shower in like May or something, and then I finished like now. So it only took like 5 months. And then I was like, well, I don't want to just send a hat. Like, I feel like I need to make something else too, which is where this cardigan comes in. I washed it, so it smells like fresh laundry. But this is a Petite knit pattern. I think it's Emma's cardigan by Petite Knit. And it's knit up with a Lion Brand yarn that I had for a really long time in stash. It's 100% acrylic, but I think the yarn is called Feels Like Butta. I've definitely used it in some other little project before. But gosh, it's so cute. This is knit off gauge. The original pattern calls for 4mm needles. I knit this with 4.5. So, and I knit the 6 to 9 months size, but because it's off gauge, I think it turned out to be a little bit bigger than that. I don't actually know like exactly what it is, but I figured like it's better to be big than small for the baby so that they can like grow into it. So I'm not too mad about that. This is what I mean by bad tension, by the way. Like, I look at how each of the rows are kind of like rowing out. The whole thing is pretty much knit flat. I mean, the sleeves weren't knit flat. They were knit on in the round, and they still don't look particularly great. So I feel like this yarn is just like really unforgiving with bad tension. But overall, I mean, it's like kitsch. So I'm not too mad about it. I will try and give it another steam block to see if it'll like even out a little bit more, but it is what it is, you know. The modifications that I made in terms of like designs is that the original design has buttons and buttonholes that are like afterthought buttonholes. I did not do the buttons and the buttonholes because I heard mixed things about babies and baby knits and buttons, so I just didn't want to risk it, especially because this is a gift knit. If it was like my child, maybe I would be like, F it, I'll just put buttons on it. But yeah, I don't want to be responsible for another child potentially getting hurt. So I put these little embroidered pink bows. And then the actual closure is snaps. Maybe it'll make it easier for the parents to put this on the baby as it squirms, and also makes it safer. So that's that. And it's got these faux, like, it's not fake, it's real pockets, but they're very shallow, and it's not like the baby's gonna be putting her wallet and keys in here, so it doesn't really matter what they look like. But I kind of wish I did patch pockets instead of these like inset gusset type pockets. I just don't think it's as cute because it kind of gapes, you know, like that. But I think it's very cute, no? Like with the pink and the blue, I just think it's a nice little garment for a baby. And the pattern was I don't think the pattern was like super easy to follow. I think it definitely assumes that you've done raglan increases before. So if you've never knit like raglan or like a cardigan, or I don't know, it might be kind of difficult to follow, but then you wouldn't be making a baby knit anyways, probably. So, and there is a third item that will go in that package. Obviously, I will send this to my friend before I put this video up, so hopefully she doesn't see this before the package gets there. But my friend has a toddler as well, and I wanted to make something for her too, as well as the baby. So I made this crocheted hat with bunny ears. This is kind of like reminiscent of that bunny hat that, is it like, what's the brand name? Loverboy maybe? It was big in like K-pop for a little bit, but it's kind of like that, where it's got these like floppy bunny ears. I originally wanted to do this with knitting, but then I don't know, I just thought crochet would be faster, and it was. And I don't know, it gives it that like bobbly look, so I think it looks pretty cute. I need to weave in the ends of this a little bit more, but other than that, this doesn't, I can't put this on my head because it doesn't fit. It's for a baby, it's for a little girl, so it does not fit my big old adult noggin, but I think it'll fit her. So that's this hat, and that's the package that I will send off to my friend. About that yarn, I actually had bought 2 balls of acrylic yarn from Michael's because I wasn't sure which yarn I wanted to make the hat with. The original plan was to just crank it out on the Central machine, and neither of the yarns worked for the Central machine, so I kind of like shot myself in the foot there. Should have just gotten what I knew worked. But the 2 yarns that I got were Loops and Threads, Sweet Snuggle Lite, and Skinny Chenille. So this is Sweet Snuggles Lite. This is in the colorway Ballet Slipper Dot. This, which I'll talk about next, is the Skinny Chenille, and it's in the colorway Flamingo. So I told you that I bought 2 yarns. I actually knit this one up first. You can see that this is also like some attempt at a bunny hat. This is a pattern that I followed. This is the pattern, I think it's just literally called Bunny Hat, but it's by Bunny Clava on Ravelry. I found that I literally typed in bunny hat on Ravelry, and this was like the first result, I think. Sample photo is so cute. It looks like Miffy ears because of the way that it just like the hat cups around the head and then has these like little tiny ears. I love it. I think it looks really great. However, the pattern is kind of difficult to follow. Like the way that it is written, I like once you go through the instructions once, you're like, okay, I understand, like this is like how the construction is supposed to be. But as you're doing it, you're kind of like feeling around the dark a little bit. The instructions are a little bit not clear. And the way that the pattern file comes in, maybe the designer didn't realize this, but the PDF is in like 7 different parts. So like it's all in 7, like the different pages of the pattern you have to download separately, which was kind of annoying. And then I just like put them together in Adobe Acrobat myself. But if you don't want to deal with all that, maybe don't buy this pattern. But the pattern is really cute. I just messed up with the gauge and choice of yarn. Once again, this is what I mean by the acrylic yarns being really unforgiving. You can see that this is ugly. It's ugly, yeah. I don't know what else to say about how this stitch turned out. It's just ugly. Like, I just did a bad job of knitting it. It's not the pattern's fault. It's not the yarn's fault. I just did a bad job of knitting it in combination with both of those things. And I know that my gauge on hats especially is just like really bad. It's abysmal. Like always, it's not been great. And that combined with the unforgiving yarn and the pattern being a little bit confusing made this not great result. But you know, you live and learn. So yeah, it kind of looks more like Mickey Mouse ears. But it's supposed to be more like this. So I knit this first and I was like, yo, this is ugly. That's why I made this. Cause I didn't want to give this thing as a gift cause it's not great. And then I was like, okay, I need a do-over on the pattern, the bunny hat pattern. So which is why using that other acrylic yarn, I made this guy. This is better. But still like yarn choice, not the best. Like I think I just need to use what the pattern suggests or like something similar, because like it's knit up with like 100% wool, and I think that would look obviously better because it would have more stretch, so you can knit a little tighter and then the ears would like turn out a little bit better and all that jazz. So that's how I feel, but I think this is cute, right? As I said, like, I might get some funny stares if I wear this out, but who cares? Like, life is short. Do what you want. But I don't know. I think it's cute. I also put a brooch on here, or a pin, because I couldn't tell the back from the front. There is a back and a front. The back is a little longer. You do it with short row shaping. So I wanted to, you know, keep that in mind. So I did put a pin so that I knew which way is facing front. I don't know. I think it's cute. I'll wear it. I do want to knit more versions of the hat to give to friends this winter, so we can all be bunnies together, and then we can all look crazy and not just me alone. This always turned out better, but I knit this kind of off gauge, so I kind of like just followed the construction but then winged it as far as, you know, stitch counts and stuff like that goes. And I think it turned out okay. But if you're going to attempt this, definitely do what the pattern says and do not do what I did with the acrylic yarns and stuff like that. Yeah. And you can also see that one ear is a little bit shorter than the other. It's because I guess I miscalculated how many rows I did on the other ear. So you should think about that too. You should probably like actively keep count of rows and stuff like that. Don't be like me, basically, is what I'm saying. This pattern is also like on the pricier side as far as hat patterns go. I think hat patterns generally are like $6, $5 USD, but this one is 10. So I mean, you can't tell designers how to price their patterns. I bought it clearly, so I think it's worth it for me because I'm going to be making a lot of this probably. But yeah, if you want, just like if you don't want this particular look, maybe look for a different bunny hat. Okay. And we have one last finished object that I'll talk about. And this is my last project of the summer. My last summer project. This is the Breezy Tank by Kiss Kiss Rhinestones. The Breezy Tank is a modification of the Breezy long sleeve top, I believe it's called. Breezy top, sorry. And that one's long sleeve, but this one is obviously has no sleeves. This is knit up with Juniper Moon Farms linen yarn, which I'll put the specific name of the yarn down below because I lost the label and I forgot what it was called. But it's this like electric blue color. I had really high hopes for this, but I am afraid that it doesn't meet my hopes. Like it looks fine when you just have it on the hanger or just flat like this, but I think the yarn combination and the pattern size that I chose just like made it not the best. I think I would have preferred the body width to be a little bit more oversized. On me, this just doesn't look as flattering because it fits kind of like tighter around my chest, but then like is loose on the around the stomach, obviously because like your chest is bigger than your stomach for me. But something about that with this fabric doesn't look right. I think it's because like it's meant to be like very, you know, flowy, drapey, and then like I think I would have preferred it to sit away from my body more, because just it looks like it clings a little bit strange. I don't know how to describe it without like me putting it on. But yeah. And another thing is that the armhole is a little deep for me. It doesn't cover like my bra, so that makes it a little bit not as versatile. But I was wondering if that was because of the way that I did the I-cord. The I-cord was like kind of loose. So I did put in my favorite cheat to fix all my mistakes, which is, you know, the elastic in the arms here. So it would sit a little bit better against my armhole area. So I think that did fix it a little bit, but yeah, maybe I should have checked the row gauge a little bit more. I think the row gauge is kind of off. But I did knit this to be a little bit longer than what was recommended in the pattern. But I still think I could have gone a little bit longer, you know? And yeah, the neckline, honestly don't think, I already knew this, but boat necks, this kind of wide neckline isn't that flattering on me. It just doesn't look intentional. So that's a bummer. But I think this will do nicely as a layering piece still. So it's not a total wash, but I'm just like not as happy with it as I thought I would be. And you can't always win in the game of knitting, you know? But sometimes you wish you could. And this was one of those areas where I thought I would win. I had a couple of fails this time around, you know, in this with my finished objects. So that's, you know, you are humbled by your craft every day. And this was definitely one of those experiences. I generally like I think with anything that I make, I'm generally like, I like most of the things that I make, but my stuff, like how I feel about the stuff that I make is like kind of tepid. Like I'm not never super totally 100% in love with anything, but I also don't think it's like the worst thing in the world, if that makes sense. Like I can definitely find flaws in it, but then I'll still use it and wear it because I'm like, whatever. I made it, so that can justify me not loving it 100%, as opposed to me spending money on something and then not liking it. Like buying it and then not liking it. That's just how I feel. So anyway, that's it for this episode. So again, check out Memory Lane by Claudia, Quintanilla if you are interested. You can, once again, the link is down in the description box. And if you have any questions about anything that I talked about today, let me know. And I'm excited to get cranking on my fall projects. I have so much that I want to knit that I just like haven't had the time to. And I also want to finish the stuff that has been in mild hibernation through the summer. So I'm excited to just switch over into woolly wools and all of that. So stay tuned to see what I'll do in the next coming months. And subscribe if you haven't. If you've seen me for a couple videos now and you haven't subscribed, maybe now's a great time. If not, I mean, do what you want. I can't tell you what to do. Bye.